This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 975 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Horsemanship Radio Show. Dr. Raymond joins host Debbie Laux to talk about emergency preparedness, the basics, and some good resources to learn more. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from EZSignsOnline.com.
This week's spotlight product from EZSignsOnline.com is their outdoor silhouette cutouts. Made from a long-term outdoor durable vinyl aluminum material, these cutouts will outlast the old-style painted wood ones by many, many years. A great way to add an equestrian image to your barn, horse stalls, mailboxes, houses, or campers. Choose from dozens of equestrian or animal graphics online, available in 2 different sizes starting at only $59.95. And remember, free shipping on most orders over $100, all at EZSignsOnline.com. Get your silhouette cutout today.
Today, for our trainer's tip, we have up next Dr. Susan Raymond from Canada at the Guelph University. We're really fortunate to have her give us a tip today on emergency preparedness.
Welcome back, Dr. Susan Raymond, Communications and Programs Officer at Equine Guelph at the University of Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Thanks for joining us again.
Well, thank you for so much for having me again.
Well, it was a real interesting interview that we had with you, and we wanted to have you back to share with our listeners a tip, because I know you do so much work with not only horsemanship, but also with emergency rescue. What tip do you have for us today?
I would say my tip of the day is to make sure that you're prepared for disasters. Nobody wants to think about this, but look at your facility and where you live and think about what potential problems could occur, whether it's ice storms or floods or drought, any sort of disaster or fire, anything. Look at it and decide, if that were to happen, what would happen at your barn? Do you have some pre-planning in place? Have you pre-planned what you're going to do? And then if the event actually occurs, what's your plan for in the event of a disaster?
Mm-hmm. And is there, do you have anything on your site that can guide people? Where would they begin?
Well, on our site, on the Equine Guelph site, we do have a range of tools that can help in terms of emergency preparedness. We have both, with Equine Guelph, this is our year of full circle responsibility in terms of equine welfare. On our homepage, we have a section that goes right to our full circle responsibility program. Within that, you'll see a whole range of resources, but one is on emergency preparedness. We have both a feature article, but we also have a really useful info sheet that you can go through in terms of check boxes and looking at your pre-planning checklist for your facility and then what to do around the barn and around the farm.
Okay. So it's like making sure that you don't look like a fire hazard around your barn, or that you have emergency medical clinics or little kits in your tack room, or just give us a few hints at what you
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of, you hit a very good point in terms of fire prevention, looking at your barn. Do you have, even if you have fire extinguishers, if you have fire extinguishers, do you know how to use them? Are they in working order? Things like making sure that you're in touch with your local fire department, with your pre-planning checklist. Make sure it's mapped out, all the dwellings and the buildings and what hazardous materials could be where. Because you have to remember, in, say, the event of a flood, some of these things might be submerged in terms of the fence lines, in terms of, that propane tank that's sitting there. It might be underwater. Outlining and practicing your emergency evacuations and your fire escape plans. That's pretty important. And looking at where you're going to contain your animals in the case of if you have to evacuate. Making sure, a lot of us may not be at our farm all the time. We might have full-time jobs that we're working elsewhere. So what happens? Are you in contact with somebody that can help that may be closer to your facility if in the event of an emergency?
That's a great tip, too. These days, nobody has a landline to speak of anymore. Where do you put your emergency numbers? Do you pre-program them in your cell phone? Do you have them in a special spot?
They should be pre-programmed, but if you do have landlines, if you do have a landline in your barn, make sure everything is posted beside the phone. You can't just assume that, one, you'll remember the phone numbers in the event of emergency, but also you don't know who's going to be at your facility that's going to be helping out. So making sure that your whole address is listed beside the phone. Make sure you have your emergency phone numbers. Make it very user-friendly because you don't want to be second-guessing yourself if an emergency is occurring.
Yeah, good tip. I can't tell you how many people come up to Monty and me, too, and say, well, my horse is never loaded on the trailer, but, we don't take him anywhere anyway, so why should he learn to load on the trailer?
That's a very good point. I mean, if it's an emergency situation and you want to try to evacuate your animal, that may not be the time to be training your horse to load.
Training the horse to load. That's exactly right. And that's pretty much the reasoning we give every time, too, because a lot of people have given up, and it's just scary, especially in Australia where they start getting those fires. Heck, anymore in California, we're about toast and burn right now. So, yeah, everybody should do. Well, thank you so much. That was great stuff. I appreciate that. Everybody could use some of that. I'm sure not everybody is completely prepared. Even if we haven't looked at our fire extinguishers for a while, we should. That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susan Raymond, for joining us again and giving us a tip.
Well, there you go. You can listen to all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for your iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It's quick, it's free, and it's easy. This podcast has been made possible through the generous support of EZSignsOnline.com and listeners like you. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily. And here's my after-show stealth tip on emergency preparedness. Permanently label your horse's everyday turnout halter with your name and contact information, the info that someone would use to contact you or someone you designate if you and your horse are separated by an emergency of some sort. That way, when Mother Nature throws a curveball into your neighborhood, your horse has a better chance of finding his way back to you sooner rather than later.